Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Charles Boda.
Hello.
Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
Steve Porter.
Hello.
And back on the controls, our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Hello.
Well, last week we talked about the best theme park queues, or the best attraction queues at Walt Disney World. So this week, we'll talk about the worst ones. And again, this is a topic that I just don't care about, but you do, and we're here for you, so we're doing this. These guys got excited about it, but...
All right. Yeah.
So, in no particular order, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin at the Magic Kingdom. Steve, you seemed really passionate about this.
I worked on this attraction, so I had to stand in this queue for 45 minutes a day, at the very least, and it smells horrible in there. The music that they play in the background is just that bum 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 brrr, bum over and over and over and over again, and then Buzz is just screaming at you in the background.
There is nothing. Horrible. There is really no, and I love this attraction. I do love the attraction, but there is nothing charming about this queue. No. Nothing.
When we were at Magic Kingdom last week, the Fast Pass line was far outside the door. Like, okay, so even with a Fast Pass, you are still going to have to wait outside, plus then all this crap on the inside. And it's one of those attractions where it seems like the air conditioner is always broken inside the actual queue, and it just never cools down. I don't know if that's too many bodies or the door opening and not being able to stay closed, but it's you know, and then the big payoff is supposed to be Buzz Lightyear, and then it's just like, oh, good, a little video projection that looks like it's from the 1920s.
He's got scary banana hands. They don't have knuckles, and they're just ready to swipe at you. But it just sounds in there to me like some ghost took a dump in a diaper and rubbed it across the wall. And it's a ghost because you can't see it, but you can smell it everywhere.
I was going to ask why it had to be a ghost.
I think you know why.
Yeah. One of the things about it is that it's not like overly themed. There's stuff on the walls, and there's that thing that Steve was talking about, the Buzz Lightyear playing in the background with the like drum thing and everything. But that combines with the fact that it's more claustrophobia inducing than it needs to be there, where it's not just the fact that you're waiting closer, the wraparounds are close and everything, and there are a lot of people, but it's like the ceiling is really, really low, and so you're just like huddled in with a bunch of different like smells, and then you've just got like that drum just playing in your ear. I almost lost my mind one time on this ride because it was like standing in the same place for like 20 minutes just surrounded by people, and it's cramped. It's like
it's not from Disney waterboarding. They just need the towel over your face.
They also, there's the huge control panels that children think that they like run up to them thinking that they can press the buttons, but they don't. It's just like paint. It's not, there's no actual buttons to press. They don't light up. They don't do anything because it's just a facade.
Paint and a layer of bacteria.
Yeah. And it just seems like, to me, that's like a level of... Disney usually thinks of everything, and they're usually all about immersion and, you know, being high quality. That feels very local theme park to me, to have just a painting.
I don't know if they ever assumed that Buzz Lightyear would be as popular as it is. You know, having all the Dream Flight, Delta Dream Flight, and If You Had Wings all in there before, these were all attractions that never really garnered very long waits. So then to put Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin in there, and now all of a sudden people are willing to wait on this, I don't know. I can't believe it completely caught them off guard, but at the same time, this was a newish attraction for them. Was it going to be popular or not? Well, history kind of wrote itself, because now we had Toy Story Midway Mania, and it's all about being as interactive as possible at all times. So there's that.
All right. So next on the list, Jungle Cruise. Totally agree with this too. There's nothing appealing about that queue.
Yes, it's Craig's shaking his head, so I'm interested to see what he has to say. But this has, for some reason, Walt Disney World, because they just planned it after and they saw the things that they needed to fix from Disneyland, the Disneyland queues are very thin and skinny. And for some reason, the Jungle Cruise is the same way, where it has that very, like, where you're shoulder to shoulder with people that are in the line next to you because it's so packed in there. And I just think it feels like a giant corral to me.
I like all the the big spider and the cage and the thing. I think there are. I do get what you're saying. Like I look at that queue as something that was clearly designed way before anybody was like, this park won't be popular. Just put it. 15 people will wait here. Like, but I mean, there's things about it I like. Like I like that all the weird Americana that's in there. I don't think that's the right word. I don't know.
For me, it's all about the radio loop. Having that play the entire time with Albert Awol and throwing in the bits of comedy as you're going through, that it is one of those things like that was designed perfectly for it. It's not just getting away with background music. And then at Christmas, then they take it up a notch, and once it becomes Jingle Cruise, they add all the cheesy decorations from the 50s with all the fun like aluminum Christmas trees and change it to a Christmas loop but still keep that old-timey radio feel. I disagree wholeheartedly on this one.
I do agree that the radio is cool and that's a cool feature, but that's no excuse for the compactness of it.
Well, people aren't supposed to be fat. I will just say that. And you know what?
Well,
I'm a wide person. I understand that. I know these weren't designed for me.
You're a big bone gal.
Oh no, I am. I'm even when I'm not at my chubbiest, I am still wide shouldered, and I really struggle getting through these places. Sometimes it was built at a different time, and I know it could be updated to do that, but to really start widening it out, then you're going to have people going out into the land. So it kind of is what it is, but.
All right. So what about Soarin'?
Oh,
That's
my
also
God.
Yeah.
The worst. Like, when you said this was the topic, immediately I was like, that garbage queue. I hate everything about it because it doesn't move. It's whatever the wait time is, it feels like it's 10 times longer than that. And I like how when they first started with being like, well, we added this interactive element. If you throw your arms up, there's a volleyball that moves on the wall. I mean, it has since changed from that, but it still is one of those where I'm just like, I have not done Soarin' as many times as I could have done Soarin', solely because I was like, no, I am not going in that queue. I'd rather just stand outside and burn alive on the sidewalk.
That queue is also one where it's very wide and has the opposite problem of Jungle Cruise, in that it's so wide that if you don't have a large party, it feels like you almost have to play defense from the people behind you.
Yeah. You somehow always end up 10 people back from where you started.
Yeah. So that's frustrating.
There's also the thing where, it's supposed to be airport themed, like you're going to get on a flight and everything, but it comes off, because of how dated it looks, like I always feel like I'm about to enter a bowling alley restroom. Because it's like a bunch of like tacky lighting and neon and stuff like that, where it doesn't seem like futuristic airport. It seems like a bowling alley restroom. So
see, I see that more as like a throwback to the 50s and like Pan Am age, when everything was still bright before the future just got awful. But no, this queue is terrible.
When the country still had hope.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
And like the one time Rhino and I waited in there before our 20th anniversary party, we wanted to do our test on how long would it take to get through the 5 attractions that we were having during our party if you would wait on a normal day. We got to Soarin', and we only had to wait maybe 40 minutes, but it was excruciating. The trivia they had on in the ride, it was fun, and then you would play 2 rounds and it wouldn't refresh, and then you would just lose your score and you start over at the bottom. So it's not even like this. They try to pull you in saying, well, we'll have fun trivia, and it's like, no, I can't even play. That's
and
crap.
We had that exact problem with those people going around us. I was even like, oh, right, I'm strategizing now how to push over this person who I know what you're doing. I know you're like, oh, I'm just looking at this. No, you're trying to get around me. Get behind me.
I'm proud to say I threw some elbows that day. It's, you know what, if they're going to do that, I'm going to pay them back.
I also think the potential for it to be a really cool futuristic airport would be a really great theming and lead perfectly into that attraction. So it's also a missed opportunity, which is another reason I hate it.
Okay. Now, arguably, in my opinion, the worst queue at Walt Disney World belongs to Spaceship Earth in Epcot. Because there is no queue. It's just a series of
Chains.
of chains and barriers, and then you get on the attraction. So there's no theming whatsoever at all leading up to it. So there's nothing there to kind of prep you going in. The thing is that the only time you really need to worry about a line at Spaceship Earth is in the morning. Once World Showcase opens and the crowds start moving back, that 45-minute line that you have at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning is usually down about a 5-minute line by about 3 o'clock. But invariably, I think this, because there's no effort at all put into this.
I also don't like that when it is busy enough to justify that they need the down and backs on the two sides. When it's very busy, then they'll have like a crossover point. And yeah. I hate those crossovers where you have to stop, and then once there's enough room, then they'll let you move forward to the next. It's just sloppy planning, but I know that wasn't an issue back until they had Fast Pass Plus, and that kind of came in and ruined everything. It's just, they need to do something with that. It's a mess.
Well, it's also an attraction that doesn't need Fast Pass Plus, so that makes it even more infuriating that that's part of the problem.
That's a big part. If they would just get rid of that, it'd be fine.
All right, so what about Space Mountain?
What?
Who said that?
I say
you're
an idiot.
Yes.
Wow.
No. So,
jeez.
Yes, the game part of it is cool, and I think that part is interesting.
That's the worst part.
The entry. Okay,
you're the one that loves interactive stuff.
But I'm going to tell you a story. So as everyone knows, I'm a big old. I've almost said like 3 bad words about myself. I am very scared of things, and I remember when we came for my grad night when I was 18, after sitting on the bench with my grandma all those years, watching my brother, my mother, my grandfather, everybody go on the ride except for me. I finally was like, well, if I'm going to die, at least I'll die with 6 people I know. So I thought, okay, I can do this ride. I'm an adult. I'm 18 years of age. And I remember stepping into that queue. I remember thinking, wow, this is an excessively long hallway. But there is just like that hallway is just so interestingly designed to me. And it feels like I'm walking through one of the ships in Star Trek or something like that. Like, so I feel like space. And ever since they redid it, now that it's more like a space airport or whatever, it's a spaceport, it's like, what?
So the part of this queue that I hate so much is the giant corral at the very. That's like if it's an hour-long wait, probably 45 minutes of it is that end part where you're just going down and back, down and back, down and back. There's nothing to see in that part. You can look up at the sky, but you can do that for like 30 seconds, and then you get bored of that.
I will say that was one of the things that used to make this back when it was still open, that you could get that extra anticipation because they had the neon glow strips on the sides of all the spaceships. So you'd see them buzzing around the track, and you would see the giant asteroid that looked like a chocolate chip cookie, and that built up the hype. And since they closed it in to make it more dark, that has taken an impact on it, but I'm right with Rhino. I love the entire vibe of it, the music once you're inside. Then once you get to the turns and they have like the little simple kind of like Pepper's Ghost style, like the rocket ship spinning around and the planets. It's this cheesy classic Disney stuff to me that it sets it apart. And then when you walk past the people on the right side who are like parked right before they drop down in the ride, I always love watching it, especially you can tell for the first timers who have never done it before, when they just stop right at that moment and you can see them and they can see you, and then they go down in. That's just one of those cool little things that people they take for granted with the queue.
Okay, and I'm right there with you for the most part, but that's only if it's an hour-long wait. That's only the first 20 minutes of the line, and then most of it is the most excruciating line you have to wait in.
The last episode, you had the counter argument with Peter Pan when you're like, well, you know what? I won't take out my phone. That's this one little portion, and the rest is boring. And now you're saying that it's not okay with this.
Yeah, but at least you go through the house and the interactive part. There's multiple steps in Peter Pan. Yes, it's a long wait, but at least there's theming throughout.
I'm going to rename this show to Nerd Wars.
I'm calling them wrong on
at least
this one.
No, there's theming throughout. except for the very beginning. But that's a very, very short.
Steve's like cheeks are getting red.
How would you put this and not like Small World on this? That queue is literally like a chain too. I mean, you could see a little bit of the ride, but geez Louise.
Yeah, that I mean, I would include that as one of them. I didn't think of that one, but yes, that would include that too.
Yeah, Small World should definitely be on this list.
Yeah, we didn't think of that, and
I just thought
I
it
guess
was
you
one
should
of
have been
those
there
where,
when
like,
we were thinking of
that
it.
was an age gone by type of a queue before the queues became a thing.
So,
you know?
what about you, Charles? You've been very quiet here.
Okay, so when Steve and I first brought it up, I was on Craig and Rhino's page, and then he mentioned that, and honestly, this queue is very back and forth for me. I agree with everybody here, where I really, really enjoy the spaceport aspect of walking down that hallway and everything. I think it does that level of immersion that sets the vibe, like I've talked about other like queues that work well, where it takes you out of the theme park situation and gradually leads you into getting into that vibe, and that totally works. However, I do remember one of the last times I was on it, and we were up in that, right before you get in the ride, and I'm like, hey, we're almost there. Just about to get on, and that, like, I think there was a hidden doors or walls or something. I swear we looped around like 17,000 times before I finally got back on there. So yeah, most of the queue ended up being up there, seeing people getting on the rides, but not the fun part was most of the queue.
Well, and it
so
does
I'm very back and forth. I don't think I'd put it on worst, though.
It does that thing too. I think you touched on this a little bit. It does that where you think you're about to get on, and then it's like, nope, we still got 45 minutes.
Yeah, we went like behind a wall. Like I thought that it was all in one section, but then it like wrapped around the back wall and came back. So there were a lot of fake outs that were gradually making me more and more frustrated because I kept thinking I was just about to get on the ride.
But you're frustrated in outer space.
Which is the best place to be frustrated.
So, which side do you lean towards? Do you lean towards Rhino and Craig or Steve?
If space gun to my head, or laser to my head, I guess, I would go with Craig and Rhino. Just because that level of initial immersion taking you out of the park and into space, I really enjoy.
Boo! All right, so Steve is wrong. And I really think, I don't think it's the best queue by any means at Walt Disney World, but I think Small World should be on this list in its place. But instead, what is also arguably the worst queue of any attraction at Walt Disney World, the Navi River Journey.
Yes.
That queue is just plain awful.
Well, that queue also has no excuse. It's it opened in 2017. When you know what the Florida.
Well, apparently the entire budget got spent on the queue for Flights of Passage.
Right.
Because you have that amazing, immersive, beautiful queue, and then you have this train wreck.
But the queue is what that ride is to me too, which is kind of like nothing. You just kind of go through nothing, and then you're in a vehicle that then goes through nothing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I do like the river ride for me personally because I like the effects that are used in it and stuff like that. But for like an average person, I can see them being like, I just waited in like this weird area in the woods, and then I took a boat through this other weird wooded area, and now it's
getting
2
off.
hours later, and here I am. What happened? There was a blue person that tried to grab me. I don't know.
With, like, you're pretty much essentially just in a very large room made out of wicker. So it feels like you're in a Pier 1 during a power outage. And the thing is, there's all this backstory to the weaving that they did, and they actually like researched
Pier 1 during a power outage. That's great.
They researched how different tribes actually did certain weaving on Earth, and then put that into how the Navi tribes. There's all this theming that is kind of cool, but you don't really get while you're waiting. And I remember the last time we were there, there's a smell factor there, and a lot of like ones where it's just one big thing. So it would almost be better if it were open air instead of having that awning. So like we were there, and it was a very long wait for a underwhelming ride. And at some point, there's like 5 or 6 of us. At some point, Pete threw on like a spray of cologne, and I just looked at him and I was like, thank you, because we were getting these two separate, like there's a current of smells forms inside under that dome to where it's like a nor'easter of bacon bits that just coming at you at all times. So,
well, and yes, I do carry a portable
surprising
atomizer of whatever cologne I happen to be wearing that day.
The other part that I think might have to do with the smell is that every time I think I've been waited in the full queue like 3 or 4 times, and it seems like every time the garbages are like overflowing. Like I don't know if the custodial team can't get back there enough, but maybe that's part of the
only
reason
thing redeeming. The only thing redeeming about that queue is the fact that they have the water bottle refill stations.
Yeah, that is cool. That's a nice touch.
Through that, but
you just made it. I just want to put it on hold, and I don't know if people have lost the point that you just tried to argue that somebody did really good research about basket weaving, and that's why we should appreciate the queue because of the.
I'm saying that research is kind of lost. I love that they did it. In fact, I love that research and theming, even if nobody notices it's cool.
It says, "Oh, that's boring."
Yeah, before it came out though, before they opened this ride, they had mentioned the amount of like research that they went into the weaves and how each style of weave and different pattern represents a different clan. But there's nothing to really let you know that that's what's going on when you're in there. I know it because I read all the promo stuff that Disney had, but for an average person who's going through there, they don't know the in-depth research into basket weaving techniques that...
I imagine this Amish family that has approached this line, and they're like, kids, you bet you were going to see something special this trip. Well, here it is. We're in the basket weaving queue.
Honorable mention on this list, which we have to add Small World to. Steve said the monorail.
Waiting for the monorail at park close at the Magic Kingdom is my least favorite queue, even though it's technically not a ride in the Magic Kingdom.
It's like saying you're waiting for the bus is the worst queue ever.
Well, that's why it's an honorable mention, and we're not really including it, but it just drives me mad.
I would actually throw on too. I know no one asked me, but I hate the queue for Dinosaur, and not because
was almost on my best list.
Not because of what it's what it could be versus what it is. They actually do explain to you like the whole history of the dinosaurs, and Bill Nye's up there giving his little speech, but it's like they always turn the volume down to 1 and everyone is screaming in there. So I don't think I've heard the actual pre-show spiels and all that in the museum section since probably 2007. It's just always pure madness in there, and that's when the person isn't yelling at you to hurry up and get into the next pre-show room. So it should be a good queue, but it's just not managed right.
All right, and there you have it, our picks for the worst queues at Walt Disney World: Buzz Lightyear, Jungle Cruise, Soarin', Spaceship Earth, Space Mountain, and Navi River Journey, with honorable mentions to Dinosaur, Small World, and the Monorail. So we hope you enjoyed it. That will do it for this episode of the Best and Worst of Walt Disney World, and we will see you again next week. Have a great week, everyone.